Hello, I'm Shivangi Mukherjee. Welcome back to my channel. If you're an old subscriber, I'm glad you decided to visit me again. If you're a new subscriber, I make content on self-love, mindsets and personal growth. Today's video is going to be an informal chit-chatty sort of a video where I take you through all of what's been on my mind through the last month, that is July, and most of this month, that is August. Think July or August wrap up, but not with things that are materialistic. I talk about things that have been going on in my mind. I share accomplishments, I share failures, I share thoughts that have been unsettling for me and how I have been working on all of them. So if this is something that interests you, keep on watching. I am going to be starting off with the negative first. This is because I want you to know, and you probably already know, social media can be increasingly deceptive. It'll have you questioning your worth. It'll have you believing that everybody around you that you see on screen is living the best of life. There's nothing wrong that goes on in their life, and they have everything going for them. That is far from the truth. And this is why I will be starting off with the negative first, so that if you're going through a difficult time, you know that you're not alone. This incident happened in July, and it had me questioning my ability to judge people and my awareness around how much certain items cost or certain services cost. I had been reaching to a particular person for services to be performed at my house for a number of years now. It wasn't until very recently, that is the last month, that I realized that this person had conned me by charging me double the amount for so many years now. And the narrative that I was leading in my head with was, oh Shivangi, you're just not aware of what goes around you, you're just not aware of prices, did not do your due diligence, you got conned. Yes, I did not do my due diligence because I was young back then. I did not have the awareness to know that I had to do due diligence or I had to cross-check. So what I needed was to forgive myself. I slowly decided to change the narrative in my head because I saw that the problem with the you got conned narrative was that it was shifting blame onto me when I wasn't the one who had wronged me. It was the other person. I decided to tell myself that I decided to trust a person. That was my choice. What that person did with my trust was their choice. So they made a choice, I made a choice. I'm not going to punish myself for my choice, but I'm going to learn from it. So I slowly decided to flip the narrative in my head, and I told myself, he conned you. Now, though the July incident broke my heart, it was also the final push that I needed to get me started on my personal finance journey. I had been learning about personal finances for some time now, and very superficially. So I eventually probably might have started, but the thing about eventually starting is that you keep pushing it till it's convenient for you, and the risk with that is you might never end up starting. That possibility is always there. And turn in August, I opened a savings account, I opened a Demat account, I made my first investment, and the joy that it brought me, I cannot explain to you in words. There's one other thing that I did in July. I filed my ITR by myself. Now this was a big deal for me, okay? In my house, or the background that I come from, it was always impressed on me that men are always better with finance and banking than women. And it wasn't always loudly said. I always saw the women in my household reach out to the men in the family with their finances. And I could not understand how these women who were so careful about money, more so than men, who knew where their money was going, more so than men, would have to rely on men for understanding finances and need them to take charge of their finances. This was something that was very peculiar to me. So when I did all the banking stuff by myself, opening Demat accounts, making my first investment, filing an ITR by myself, needing no help, not needing to hire a person for filing an ITR, which is an increasingly common practice, nothing wrong with it, just sharing that it is a practice. I felt empowered, and I felt like I was the one changing the narrative in my household. This was a proud moment for me. While doing my research on banks that I could have a savings account with, I came across this bank that had savings accounts and different types of savings accounts. One was known as the women's savings account, where women could have an account with them, and it was specifically made for women. So this account provided incentives to women if they engaged in shopping. Now my problem with that is, there's nothing wrong with women shopping, but it is more readily accepted that women are the one engaging in shopping, not men. The other accounts that were there, they did not have incentives for shopping. It was this woman's account that had incentive for shopping. I'm not saying that women don't shop. My problem is this image that they have created, that women are synonymous to shopping. No. Why? Why can't we change that narrative? Why can't we offer them higher rates of interest if they create an RD with that account or an FD with that account? It is our grandmothers or our mothers, and you will see them having a stash of money hidden somewhere. Maybe in the kitchen somewhere, or maybe in a jar, under a pillow, in a book. And this was something that we had seen during demonetization. Notes were coming out from these hidden spots. In a lot of the cases, these were mothers, if you notice carefully, and not fathers or not brothers, but the women in the family. So it's not like women don't save. It's not like women aren't aware of what to do with their money. It's not like women only engage in shopping. So why propel that narrative? That was something that bothered me, and that was something that left me a little disappointed. But let me know what you think about this. I'm curious to know how you perceive this. I have brought you a little up close to share what I'm about to share, because this one is a little more personal than what I've shared so far. For anyone that knows me a little closely will know how much I reach out to fitness and how much I enjoy reaching out to fitness. So, all of July, I took a conscious break from working out. I did this because at one point of time in my life, I was engaged in so many activities. At the end of the day, I had no time for myself. I felt spent, and I had no energy left to do the things that I actually wanted to do that did not involve physical labor, so to say. When this was just thought in my head, I was thinking what a 30-day break would do to me. And I was curious to know. I needed the rest, and I was also curious to know where this would lead me with my mental health. So I went on that 30-day break. I'm happy to say that I wasn't as harsh on myself as probably a past version of me might have been. I was kind to myself. Yes, I did have moments of doubts. Yes, I did question my self-worth. But I kept reminding myself that how I look is not tied to my self-worth. How I look has nothing to do with how I perform, how I am as a person, and so I should not be tying my self-worth to something that's superficial. I sort of believe that our body is just a shell, and what matters is what's inside. And when I very recently reached out to working out again, I realized that I was able to be kind to my body. This is something that I've struggled with in the past. Even when I caught myself wanting to get back to my older weights, I recognized that, and I had the consciousness to tell myself that no, Shivangi, remember the promise you made. You said that you'd go light and gentle on yourself today. Let's work on that instead. And I was able to gently reel myself back in. I have been able to take it slow, and I have been able to take it gentle, which was such a milestone accomplishment for me, because I did not have the right equation with fitness. I don't know if I'm still there, but I'm getting there. I'm moving back from the screen again so that I'm not in your face. I now wish to take you through things that have brought me peace during the months of July and August. These are forms of entertainment that I reached out to when I needed peace. The first thing that I would like to talk about for my July and August favorites are two books that I keep switching between, and I have been taking my own sweet time with them. One is The Body Keeps the Score, and the other is Psychology of Money. Now, The Body Keeps the Score is a book that informs you the science behind trauma, what goes through a person when they feel traumatized, how trauma occurs. Psychology of Money, on the other hand, is, as the title suggests, it is the psychology behind money. This book was something that I got myself when I decided to understand money or finance, but in more simple terms. And I saw that everyone around me was talking about this book. Everyone around me said what a classic it was, and it was simple and easy to digest. The thing about topics like finance is that sometimes people make it more complicated than it need be, and so simple literature is appreciated in these cases. I'm going to read this excerpt to you from The Psychology of Money. I'm not in the lowest income group. You're likely not either. So it's hard for many of us to intuitively grasp the subconscious reasoning of low income lottery ticket buyers. But strain a little and you can imagine it going something like this. We live paycheck to paycheck, and saving seems out of our reach. Our prospects for higher wages seems out of reach. We can't afford nice vacations, new cars, health insurance, or homes in safe neighborhoods. We can't put our kids through college without crippling debt. Much of the stuff you people who read finance books either have now or have a good chance of getting. We don't. We are paying for a dream, and you may not understand that because you're already living that dream. This excerpt actually helped me realize that money is subjective to everyone. The way I'll handle a 200 rupee note is very different from how someone else will handle a 200 rupee note. Say I've never seen 200 rupees in my entire life. I'm going to have a very different approach to that 200 than someone who has seen many 200s in their entire life. I'm going to now read you excerpts from The Body Keeps the Score. The relatively recent discovery that neurons that fire together wire together. When a circuit fires repeatedly, it can become a default setting, the response most likely to occur. If you feel safe and loved, your brain becomes specialized in exploration, play, and cooperation. If you are frightened and unwanted, it's specialized in managing feelings of fear and abandonment. Meaning to say that if in your childhood or if instances in your past, your brain has been wired in a way where it has felt unsafe constantly, even in healthy settings, you will be looking for signs that there's unsafety around you and you will be hypervigilant. I came across this amazing podcast. It's a crime podcast called the Desi Crime Podcast. And the best part about this podcast is, as the name suggests, it brings forward crimes committed in the brown community. Usually when we look at crime, we read about all these serial killers. Ted Bundy, for instance. He was a white serial killer, right? He wasn't a brown serial killer. The problem with that is we don't try to understand the psyche of killers or the psyche behind the crime of killers that have existed and have been brought up in our brown community. The culture in the brown community will obviously be very different from the culture in the white community, and so it is interesting to understand and to read how this culture impacted them when these criminals were growing up. The first episode that I listened to was the Sheena Bora case, the Burari family death. Then I listened to the Bikini Killer, that is Charles Sobraj. Then I listened to, and this is not probably very well known, this happened in 99, the Javed Iqbal serial killing case that happened in Pakistan, where he murdered 100 children and engaged in sodomy before he murdered 100 children brutally. Then I listened to the Ranga and the Billa case, which had happened in 1970 Delhi. I'm not sure of the time frame. 1970, yes, 1970 Delhi. So these are crimes that have been committed in our community, but people have forgotten over a period of time. I cannot in good conscience end this video without talking about this book. I'll bring this forward for you. It's called Big Panda and Tiny Dragon, and I remember asking this as a gift for my birthday, and this has been a delightful read for me. So this book is filled with illustrations inside. These are the front page and the last page illustrations. It is beautiful, and inside you have colored illustrations. I would like to bring to your notice two quotes in this book, or two situations in this book, which I have bookmarked because they brought me hope. Remember a little while before in this video where I said that at one point of time I was engaged in too many activities and I needed to take a break, and I have always struggled with taking a break. This is one quote that helped me. "I'm tired," sighed Tiny Dragon. "Then it's time to stop," said Big Panda. "Watch the stars and have a cup of hot tea." And that's what they're doing here. That is the Big Panda, that is the Tiny Dragon, that's the tea being brewed, and he has a teacup in his hand. Those are the stars and the night sky. And the best part is that Big Panda and Tiny Dragon are actually out on an adventure. They are lost, they don't have no clue where they're going. And in the middle of all this, Tiny Dragon says, "I'm tired." And there's definitely a sense of exhaustion when he says, "I'm tired, I don't know what's happening around me, we're lost," all of that, you know. And Big Panda just says, even though they're lost and in the middle of a lot of trouble, he just says, "Why don't you rest? Why don't you watch the stars?" And that made me think that if Big Panda and Tiny Dragon can prioritize rest, why can't I? If they can prioritize rest in a time where they should urgently feel the need to make their way back to where they originally came from, because they were lost on a journey, like I mentioned. They instead prioritize rest. And if they can do that, why can I not? I can too, right? So this book actually inspired me to look at rest a little differently and allow myself to think about rest. Another quote that I want to read to you is, I remember the page number, so I'm going to flip till I reach there. Yes. So this is the illustration. This is big panda and tiny dragon sitting on a rocky surface. These are the waves. This is, I think, the monastery or a temple. I don't recall. And this is land again. This is the sky. And tiny dragon asks big panda. Before I read this quote, I will share this with you that during one of my therapy sessions, I remember sharing this thought with my therapist and saying, does this make me a bad person? And my therapist then told me, no, it doesn't. I did not believe my therapist because I thought they were just being kind to me. And I discounted what they said to me. This book says exactly that I had discounted earlier. Tiny Dragon was dealing with the same dilemma that I was. He asks Big Panda, do bad thoughts make me a bad person? Asked Tiny Dragon. No, said Big Panda. The waves are not the ocean. The thoughts are not the mind. These words are magic. With that, we come to the end of today's video. If you would like to see more of such thought wrap-up videos, please do let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye. Take care.